Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining our webinar today. The topic is an introduction to Design Studio. My name is Rich Chlebek of the BICP. So let's get started and talk about what we're going to cover. I'll go over a few things about our webinar protocol and then do some introductions of myself and BICP. We're going to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of Design Studio compared to SAP BusinessObjects Dashboards, formerly known as Xcelsius. Also point out some implementation considerations. And then we'll do a demo. And time allowing, we'll go over any questions you might have. So a little bit about the webinar protocol. The participants are muted. We had over 130 registrants, so it would be difficult with background noise and such to have an open conversation. But you can certainly submit questions via @host. I did notice a couple of people already posting some notes in the chat window, so please feel free to open up the chat window and you can send me a note directly at the host. We have specifically designed this webinar to be just a half an hour long, to just be an introduction. We kind of recognize that Design Studio is a new tool, and there's a lot of interest as we're out meeting with our clients and in different both work and proposal meetings. We have a lot of questions, and our clients have a lot of questions about these tools. So we thought we'd walk through and provide an introduction at various levels. So something that'll fit towards BI managers as well as administrators in the basis team, as well as the end users of the dashboards and analytics. We are recording the webinar, and after it's completed, you'll get a link and you'll be able to download that. We'll also be posting a link on the BICP website so that you could view it online as well. So a little bit about myself. I've been using business objects and implementing business objects for over 17 years now, from their early releases when the product was still just about 4 or 5 years old. Right. I'm also an advisor to SAP Expert, and I lead the business objects practice at BICP. I did recognize a lot of familiar names. For those of you who are not familiar with BICP, we are a consulting organization focused on SAP Business Objects and BW. Our low overhead business model focuses on small teams of highly experienced consultants that work on site. So I'm going to go ahead and start by drawing comparisons to Design Studio and Dashboards. So Dashboards, the Xcelsius tool, was originally acquired by Business Objects back in 2006. So it's been around for a while. SAP's definition of it is providing a rich set of visualizations and controls to build highly interactive dashboards on third-party data sources. So the pros on this, so I'm getting some messages saying that it's difficult to hear. So I will turn up my headphones and continue to try. And I'll speak up as well. So Dashboards does have a broad visualization library to support KPI and executive dashboards, and leverages the BI infrastructure with support from the semantic layer. And SAP's formal recommendation is that it be used for third-party data sources. So I am reading through the chat window, and I'm going to stop for a second because I'm getting some messages that the phone line works fine, but the call via internet is not working. So I'm going to stop for a second and cut and paste the dial-in number information into the chat window so everyone has it. And I apologize for that, but let's get that information out for anybody who's dialed in via the internet and having difficulty hearing. Although I am getting some messages via chat that the internet is fine for other listeners, so perhaps it does depend on your internet connection, but it seems that the phone conference is more reliable for most. One zero six six and reference ID. Okay, sorry for the interruption. I've gone ahead and placed the phone dial-in number in the chat window so anybody who's connected via internet can see it. Michelle, who's helping coordinate the conference, Michelle, if you don't mind placing that in the chat window to all again in a couple of minutes. But for those who can hear me fine, I'll continue on. Some of the cons that we're seeing on dashboards are that there's a long development process due to the multiple layers of technology in the workflow. So the product's been around for a while. Technology has changed. There's been many additions made in terms of integration. The product was originally acquired by BusinessObjects, then BusinessObjects was acquired by SAP. So there are several layers there. It's primarily based on flash content, which provides some slow performance. And in some cases cannot handle larger data sets. There has been some rewriting going on to provide HTML5 compatibility in place of the flash visualizations, but it's still limited. So Design Studio, SAP's definition, is provides a development environment that contains a broad library of controls and visualizations to build analytics on BW and HANA data, right? So the pros on this are it's got a much more modern development environment with JavaScript programming and controls, and it's 100% HTML5 runtime. So no compatibility issues with iOS devices. It does have native BW and HANA support for connectivity. It's recommended by SAP for BW customers. It does handle larger data sets well. Also, one of the pros is that it does support embedding of Xcelsius content or dashboard content into Design Studio. This might not be a great long-term solution, but perhaps in transitioning over from dashboards to Design Studio, if there's some capability from dashboards that's absolutely needed, you do have that capability of embedding that content. There are some cons to Design Studio, and that is that it is a fairly new tool, and as such, it's not fully matured. So there aren't as many visualizations as in the dashboards tool. It does require scripting and programming skills for more complex applications. I don't know that this is necessarily a con. For those who have those JavaScript programming skills, I guess this would be a pro in that the tool gives you a lot more control over the building of your application because of this programming and scripting capabilities. So let's touch on some implementation considerations. There are two deployment options. The tool can be deployed and content can be deployed over NetWeaver platform and using connectivity to SAP BW sources. There are some limitations to that. It only can connect to that single source or that single BW instance. So whatever BW queries I've used, info providers are sourced from that server. are the only ones that can access. I think the more commonly used deployment option would be over the BusinessObjects platform. So that leverages all the BusinessObjects connectivity. So as of the latest version, which is Design Studio 1.2 that came out last fall, universes are now supported. So those are specifically the new .unx universes, or those created in IDT. So .unx, I'm sorry, .unv, or the previous version universes created in Universe Designer are not supported. But you can have access to multiple BW and HANA connections as leveraged through the BusinessObjects environment. So you do have that increased flexibility there. There's also an SDK for Design Studio available currently only through the BusinessObjects platform. So some additional information on implementation considerations. There is a platform add-in required that needs to be installed. So folks who do installations will recognize the data units folder. You'll see a couple of different add-ons for different OSs. So be sure to include that in your installation. One of the things that we discovered is that if you run the new configuration wizard and apply a template, it'll remove the analysis application server. Of course, it's not applied to all the templates, but you will need to go back and add that service back into one of the adaptive processing servers via the CMC. So the key here is not to rely on the templates. Always do a proper server sizing and configuration. For those of you who are not familiar with new configuration wizard templates, that was new as part of the 4.1 release. Also, for accessing universe data access, it does require BusinessObjects Platform 4.1 or better. I see a note from one in the chat window saying that it requires SP1 as well. So thanks for that additional information. There's only only relational single source.unx are supported. Okay. So just a quick time check. We're already about halfway through. So I do certainly want to allocate enough time for the demo. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to that next. I will be running Design Studio, the latest version 1.2, connecting to BusinessObjects Platform 4.1, SP2. It is running on a cloud server environment, Windows 2008, 17 gig of RAM, 6.5 CPU, and it has been sized and configured. Before I jump over to that window, just a reminder of some events that BICP will be participating with. We'll be at the BI 2014 conference at the end of March. If you're there, I will be there as well. We'll have an exhibit booth. If you have any more detailed questions specific to your environment, please stop by and we could talk about that. Also, next month's webinar will be on how to successfully implement SAP HANA. So please take a look or keep an eye out for notifications from Michelle on next month's webinar. Okay, so I'm going to minimize that, and I'm actually going to pass screen share to the entire screen now. I'm going to go ahead and make a desktop remote desktop connection over to the cloud environment. And step through location of Design Studio. After it's installed, it will install under SAP Business Intelligence folder, and we can open it up. So first time you log in, you do have to specify the web service as URL. You do have that option of running this locally on the desktop as well if you want to do some development, but of course you won't have your capabilities of pushing it out to the server or connecting to the platform until you've logged into a specific platform. So when starting off with a new application, you are presented with a couple of template options. I think template might be a little bit of a misnomer in that there's already, it's a layout including components, analytics, and filters. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to Demo 1. Some of the options are desktop browser, iPad, iPhone. I think the more interesting ones are the iPad. So we'll choose that to start with. And then within those categories, there are individual options as well. So we'll start with the simple filter bar in Pages. So at this point, you're presented with a canvas and a studio type of building environment. Perhaps not too different from dashboards, but I believe it has a bit more details. So I'm just going to kind of walk through the layout for those of you who haven't seen it. There are components that can be chosen and brought over onto the canvas in the middle, both analytic components, basic components, container components. So once again, similar to the current Xcelsius dashboards tool. And there's also a layout of what's happening within the analytic application itself. So since this template already had a header and body and footer defined with some content there. So we see that content here in terms of a drop-down box, some text messages, and then some page navigation. So what I'm going to do for the next 2 or 3 minutes is show you how to assign a data source. And then I've actually already pre-built a similar demo environment, and then we'll view what it looks like, what it will look like on an iPad. So as I mentioned, as I click over onto the different components that have been placed on the canvas, we do see off to the right the properties and all the variety of different properties that they have in terms of what's displayed, text, if it's interactive and you click on it, or the script that's actually set off when that takes place. So in its simplest sense, the first step we need to do is go ahead and apply a data source. You could give it a name. Default name is DS_1, and we'll browse to the connections. So in our demo environment, we simply have one universe available. It's the eFashion universe in IDT format .unx, and we have the ability then to edit the query. And we should get a familiar query panel. I'm going to quickly choose year, quarter. I'm going to choose a product line, and then a measure of sales revenue. And that's it. I'll bring over the entire data set and click OK. And now we've seen in our outline that that data source is available. By right-clicking it, we see what the initial view is. And right now, we simply just see the sales revenue, and we have a kind of a layout here showing columns, rows, and additional background filters if we wanted to apply it on this data cube. I'm going to go ahead and add the lines information to the row so it looks as such. I'm also going to go ahead and add year information to the columns above, and similarly quarter, I'll place that in between. We have an option of just clicking OK or creating a crosstab at the same time. So go ahead and create a crosstab, and now we could place it where we'd like. By definition, it kind of has a default view here. We can go ahead and change that sizing to auto fit the area, which is a really nice feature. I mean, a lot of these mobile devices now have different size screens, so this body could be set to adjust to whatever screen size the tablet has. So simply by changing the margin, we'll first change this to auto. Auto again on the height. And same thing for the margins. Let's see, I think I have to apply that first. Layout size. So we do have those capabilities. I'm going to go ahead and jump to the preview of this so we can see what that would look like when we execute that, and kind of show you some of the end result in terms of what it would look like in terms of capabilities of navigation. So we could click to additional pages. So you'll probably see this, or you'll probably notice this is pretty familiar in terms of what we typically see on iPad. I also have the ability to click and swipe. So here it's simulating what it would look like on the iPad in terms of the swiping, but obviously on the touch screen, you do that with your finger. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this for a second. I'm going to go ahead and open up one of the demos, and although we'll save this one, I'm going to open up one of my more recent ones, and it's demo 3. It's the same template, but some additional work that I put into it, including a filter. So if we glance at this filter property, I simply drag this over from this an analytic component. It was a dimension filter. I tied it to the same data source. I chose a dimension, which was, in this case, year. And that filter then applies to the results that are viewed on this page. So let's go ahead and execute that one quickly, take a look at it. And this is where I had actually set all that formatting to fit the screen. And it does adjust on, there continue to be scroll bars simply because the cell contents themselves have formatting that make it fit. But we can navigate over to additional pages and then apply additional filters. Currently, we should see all 3 years, and we can select and apply and limit it down to only certain years. There are on-hover characteristics. And I guess one thing to note as this is opening, the speed for the HTML5 content being rendered is certainly much quicker than what we see in the current Dashboards tool and the Flash content. Jumping back to to page 1, see that filter also applies here. And we could change and apply. See it change from 2005 to 2004. Going to minimize that and go ahead and open up one more visualization that I had pre-built. Should be number 6. Now this is one that's set for the desktop. So I took the desktop template to begin with. And when we view this, we have a couple of additional features. So this has the ability to, it's a similar data set, but also includes sales revenue and quantity in this case. But we have the ability to apply cascading filters. So in this case, choose year first. And now we can filter down to a specific quarter if we like, and view it that way. I've also included an export to CSV here, and we'll go ahead and open this in Notepad. So we have that ability to view the content as it's filtered down as a download. Ideally, I think most people use Excel. We'd want to do this with Excel. We do have that ability as well. I'm going to close this up. Just going to show you the scripting behind the export to CSV. It's in the on-click event. So there is a specific method that's defined in the JavaScript library. So additional methods can be written, but JavaScript's been around for a long time, and there are many methods available. And this one is available in the export type to CSV. There is an export type to Excel, and that can be viewed as well. So finally, in terms of uploading content, if I was running this locally, I could now upload this directly to the BusinessObjects platform. As it turns out, this content that I've been building, when I save it and when I've been retrieving it, it's actually been saved out to the public folders on this BusinessObjects instance. So we could view and run it from there as well. So I'm actually running right on time. It's just about 7:30. I know this was a real quick walkthrough. I hope you guys all found it beneficial. But that's the basic introduction to Design Studio in terms of building basic analytics, particularly using templates. So I've got a couple of questions that I'm reading through right now. So first one's, what's the roadmap for Xcelsius? Will it be phased out as functionality and Design Studio is enhanced? So SAP's roadmap is that they will, in fact, incorporate Xcelsius into Design Studio. And we already seen that, a bit of that already taking place in the way that we could already embed Xcelsius content in there. So another question was around templates. So are there template packs available? So these are the current standard templates that are available through SAP. I haven't seen any other template packs available, but in essence, I think template's a bit of a misnomer. It's really kind of a starting point or a layout using the common components or a sample per se. One of the other questions I have is, can you apply a new template after you've built an existing analytic? So you cannot apply a new template in terms of, particularly since these templates already have these predefined layouts, they have these predefined components, and templates might have different number of components, different type of components. But the concept of changing cascading style sheets or font types is one that will allow you to change the look and feel of a page. So, for example, in this page we have our filter settings, a chart. By assigning a new CSS class to a global CSS or cascading style sheet, we could change content on multiple pages within an application at once. So I think in terms of templating, that's a great feature that's available. So have some other questions with regards to drilling and linking reports. So there is an open the concept of open document still exists here. You could link to this dashboard or link from this dashboard and pass parameters as well. Uses the same or similar open document technology and syntax. Okay, I think I'll answer a couple more questions. It just asks, I have one, how about the performance for a huge data set from BW? So it really depends on the complexity. I mean, as you've seen, one of the main differences between what we've done with this basic report in terms of building it and designing it quickly versus doing a similar type of thing in the Xcelsius tool is there's much less mapping and manipulation of the data set. So I think the performance will be primarily on the BW side, and then obviously the rendering, but there's fewer passing of data from component to component or calculations within that. So there's also some questions about the interactive capabilities within the crosstab. So I could jump back to the view again. There are sorting capabilities as well. And so based on dollar amounts within the set, same thing with sold. Can you select from a crosstab? So those are capabilities. As far as the sales revenue chart, I've got a similar chart set to this, and there are some on-hover capabilities, and then I also have the ability to apply the filter here as well. So now we only have 1 year, 2006. Quantity sold is there, but the way I put this together, it's on the same axis, so unfortunately the numbers are a bit too small to read or to see there. And apply. So I think I'll take 1 or 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap up. So what will you do if you want different types of views in a crosstab and a chart from the same data source, for example? Data in rows in a crosstab, but need data on x-axis of the chart. So the chart properties have a variety of different capabilities in terms of formatting and viewing and laying out. You can have multiple data sources. So if I understand your question correctly, there may be a need to add an additional query, maybe with similar data, but since it has a different query name, we could apply different filters to one query and separate filters to another query, and those filters then apply to the different analytics within a single page. So a couple more. So I'm noticing some questions about BPC, other things. I know those tools use the Xcelsius dashboards currently. So I don't know the specific roadmap on those. I would certainly encourage you guys for more detailed questions specific to your installations to reach out to Michelle Whaley or myself, and I'd be happy to answer those questions offline for your specific instances, right? But I think I'll wind down now. Kind of got the general view and general feel for the tool. I really hope that this quick webinar was beneficial for you guys. I know some of the consultants from BICP were joining in, and this is some of the questions that their clients have been asking about were touched on today. So I put my contact information up on the screen. Feel free to reach out to me or Michelle. Thanks for attending, and look forward to seeing you guys at conferences at BI 2014 in Orlando, as well as dialing into next month's webinar on HANA. Thanks.